What's good, Wager World? It's your boy Five Star in Vegas, broadcasting live as always from beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. And here with my co-host, my guy, the only Sacramento Kings fan that I know. What's good, Spread Astaire? How are you this morning?
Feeling good. We've been winning bets. The Kings beat the Cavaliers last night in a game that I thought they were going to have some problems in. So couldn't be more excited to talk some sports today.
Yeah, man, I jumped in late, actually, after the Kings were down 4 and were able to get them at a nice money line. I think it was plus 180 or something like that. And they were able to come through. Got to be pretty fun for you guys in Sacramento to finally have a coach who comes in with a strategy, right?
Yeah, and he'll bench people when they're not playing defense as well, which is the thing that really stood out to me. We haven't had that since Dave Yeager. So, hey, we might not be a good team this year, but at least I can say that we're fun and the games are enjoyable. So that's one step in the right direction there.
Much better roster than in the past, and hopefully Malik Monk can kind of live up to uh, the lottery pick that he was supposed to be there. He seems a lot more comfortable in Sacramento than he did in LA.
Yeah, I think so too. And these guys get drafted so young. It's not a surprise that some of them take 3 or 4 years to develop because when we were growing up, that's when they would be drafted.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan didn't get drafted until he was a junior, right?
Yeah, he was like 22.
He skipped a senior year, right? And that was like a big deal back then. So sometimes I think it's unfair for a lot of these guys. And, I know they get blinded by the money signs, but, a guy like James Wiseman, who's just getting slandered left and right. Boy, I almost feel like, if you only spent some more time in college, maybe things could have got better. But that's the world we live in now, and a lot of these players come in unprepared.
I look forward next week. We're going to have on Coach Richard Goodman, and I'm going to talk to him about that because he's been having a war of words with his Warriors fan base behind Wiseman. So I look forward to it.
Into the past, present, and the future. For the past, we had a rough one on Monday night with the New Orleans Saints. Didn't look very good against the Baltimore Ravens. Roquan Smith feels like he was born to be a Baltimore Raven, fit in right away. And it was just tough sledding, especially on the offensive end for New Orleans.
Just a bad handicap by me. I was a little blinded by the performance the past week by the Saints defense. And they played all right this game against the Ravens. It was more about the ineptness of the offense, but I was truly confused by their 24-0 rout of the Raiders, where I actually thought that the Saints had turned the corner. But I have to be honest with myself, and even outside my fandom, realize that the Saints just aren't a playoff team this year. And most of that has to do with, one, Dennis Allen just isn't a head coach. You warned me about that before the season started as a Raiders fan about what people were saying about him from California and everything when he was running the show in Oakland. He just isn't prepared for this. And if I think back, really, Dennis Allen actually struggled as the DC for the Saints. We were like the worst team defense for many years when he was the coordinator initially. But Sean Payton put his hands a little bit more on the defensive side, and you saw a big change in things. And also Mickey Loomis did a great job of bringing in some good free agents and draft picks. The biggest thing that's hurting the Saints is the loss of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He was the heart and soul of the defensive backfield, as I talked about so many times. Badger just is the same Tyrann Mathieu that we know that was a Pro Bowler in Arizona and in Kansas City. He just is not the same player. I don't know if he's going with some stuff, but for some reason, he's missed a lot of tackles. He doesn't have the playmaking skills that he used to have, and he just doesn't really seem too excited about playing football right now, actually. So I'm really disappointed in the Saints' performance. Just a bad handicap by me because the main thing that I took from that game was never bet Dennis Allen versus John Harbaugh. Like, it's just not smart. John Harbaugh had those guys ready to play. And in the past, the Saints have been excellent on prime time in the dome, but it's all because Sean Payton. Coaching is everything, man, in any sport. And it's a clear advantage that the Baltimore Ravens had on the Saints on Monday night. Great job by him being able to get Isaiah Likely involved with Mark Andrews out. They were able to run the ball. They were missing Gus Edwards, who was next man up, and Kenyon Drake had one of his better games of the year. Efficient game by Lamar Jackson. He was the best place he should have been, and he only threw for 103 yards, but they still were able to control the game and convert when they needed to. And as you said, Roquan Smith is such a big addition. He's perfect for their team, just carrying on the torch that and the legacy that Ray Lewis lit and started. And I think that Ravens defense is only going to get better because now they have a real quarterback in the middle of that defense to go along with Patrick Queen, who's also a great playmaker. Roquan Smith can match with any quarterback to defenses that's going to respond to the checks by the offense. And any major defense, any defense that's had a great season, it's always incumbent that they have a really good linebacker. They must have a linebacker that can there and go head-to-head with the quarterback and chess. Otherwise, offenses have advantage because, most times they just check out the play to whatever the defense is showing. But a smart linebacker can get his defense ready, and that's what he's going to bring to the Ravens. So just a bad handicap on my part. Disappointing for sure.
Well, it wasn't all doom and gloom on Monday night because I did get us home there with the Brooklyn Nets plus 6.5. That was a fun game. I thought Brooklyn had a chance to win outright, but that's, why a lot of times, even though I like these teams, and I don't always follow this rule because there's a couple teams like the Pistons and the Lions, actually Detroit teams, and then I'll take the points and, say, hey, I'll take the points even if I don't believe they can win straight up. But usually when you take an underdog, you want the idea that the team can win straight up. And that's what we had there in Dallas with the Nets really taking them down to the wire, and really been impressed with the way that Kevin Durant is playing lately. So he's going to be a team that I'm going to continue to back. If you saw last night, they really took it to the New York Knicks in a game that I know a lot of people were excited about and probably had turned off by halftime, especially with a 13-game slate. If you got League Pass like me, you're already on to the next one because that one was very good. But we got the Nets home, and I'm going to give us another basketball winner tonight. We also talked about the Rockets taking on the Magic. What did you see there?
If I bet against the Rockets, they win. So maybe I need to bet against them 23 times so that I can cash my over-win ticket. I've never seen the Rockets shoot this well in so many years. It's ridiculous. They could from three-pointers in the first half, and I don't know if Jalen Green had heard all the talk about him having to step back, but he played a monster 34 points. And Kevin Porter Jr. decides this game after I'm banking on him turning the ball over to be a efficient point guard, has like 15 assists. And then, of course, Sagoon is just a beast, man. He's right now in his young career, he might have the best post game in the NBA. His moves in the post, you can't stop him. If you go one-on-one like Orlando was trying to do, he's just going to eat your lunch. And a lot of people are mad that last night in Toronto, late in the game, that coach had Sengun out the game. And it's starting to be a lot of clapback in the Houston community about moving off our head coach. So we'll see. He's a very nice guy, but nice doesn't always win, So he has the roster. He's a pretty good team if he can just orchestrate these games correctly, if he can just put them in the right positions to win. So great job by Rockets in Orlando. They shut up the Banchero chatter because a lot of people in Houston are talking about what we missed with Orlando deciding to take Banchero, and they aren't really impressed with Jabari Smith. But Jabari Smith's a different type of guy. He's going to be Hale Bridges type. He's not going to ever be the go-to option, and I don't think they drafted him to be the go-to option when you already have a G4 in place and Kevin Porter Jr. So just a good job by the Rockets. And every time they win, it's one step close to me cashing it over 23.5, so I can't be mad.
My main takeaways from that game, when you have two young developing teams, there's high variance. There's just high variance, right? Because younger players, of course, are more high, they show the flashes, but it's not always there. It's not like a veteran, right? It's why coaches love veteran players in the playoffs because you know what you're going to get. You don't want to be rolling dice, just like with us placing bets, right? We don't target 50-50 games. This is going to be a great game. No, we target when we have an edge. The coach wants to have an edge. Coach wants to know what they're going to get. So solid performance from the Rockets. And I was with you. I thought the Magic were going to do well. But a little early into the game, I said, this is why these young teams are tough, because these players were drafted high for a reason. They're in the NBA for a reason. And if they get hot at the same time, right, they can blow each other off the court, because the Magic don't have the defensive temerity of a Boston Celtics or Milwaukee Bucks to shut down these guys, right? So once they get hot, it's just like a snowball rolling down a hill. So I don't know. It was too bad that we lost. I was with you there on the Rockets. But at the same time, I'm with you as far as, I'm not necessarily a Houston Rockets fan, but I love this core that they put together. So I'm rooting for this young team. So it was exciting to see them come together. We also talked about the Suns and the Sixers. That was a tough handicap, though, because both Ayton and Chris Paul went out of the game. So I actually kind of threw the results of that one out. What did you see there, though? Was there something there that you want to talk about?
Not really. Same thing. And then Embiid ended up playing, big win by the Sixers. But most importantly, if you're missing Ayton and you're missing Paul for the Suns, you're missing the two main ingredients to their success, because everything happens for the Suns off their pick and roll with Chris Paul and Ayton. So that frees up the shooters. That does everything for them. So, and not only that, they're missing Cam Johnson, who's a major piece what people don't really consider about how good that kid is. So the Suns are going to be okay. Good win by the Sixers at home.
Yeah, and one other one that we had, the Kings covered against the Warriors. You can argue they should have won that game. Another bad call there. But, it's funny. Talked about it on my other show, the NBA Rundown. And I said, the Kings cover against the Warriors a lot. You know why? It's because to the Kings, the Warriors are our rivals. To the Warriors, we're nothing. Yeah. Right? So we come into this game geeked up. It's a big deal for our fans, our building. And the Warriors are just like, oh, it's Tuesday night, right? So the Kings got the cover there. What did you see? We talked about them right at the start because they had another good performance against the Cavaliers, but another one where like I said, this team might not win a lot of games, but at least they're fun to watch.
Had the Kings in that game, won with those guys again. I've been riding Sacramento 7.5, as we talked about on the previous show, just too much with the way that the Warriors play defense. The Warriors aren't stopping anybody, and they also are having a championship hangover. As I've said before, the Warriors really partied hard this championship, because this was like the child of me and my wife about to have. It was the surprise baby, and that's how it was with this trophy they got this year. They weren't expecting to win the championship coming into the season. They got hot at the right time. All of the vets got healthy at the right time. Poole stepped up, and a couple more guys off the bench, and it took them over the top, and they were able to win the championship. And kudos to them for that. But with them not expecting to win it and it being such a surprise, I think they really had a good time this offseason and are having a really slow start. I'm sure that Kerr had those guys ready to play by the time the playoffs start. Right now, they're a fade instantly on any large spreads got to go against them, because just aren't playing good enough defense. And Kerr is also experimenting with his lineups.
Right. I mean, to me, that also indicates why I think college football and the NFL are more popular to bet on, because these are almost throwaway months for the good teams, right? If you're a developing team that's trying to make a statement, right? This is important to you. I'm trying to think of a team that would fit that example. I mean, the Utah Jazz is a crazy one, right? But the Atlanta Hawks, regular season is going to mean a lot to them. Teams that have just become good, this is going to mean a lot to them. For a team like the Warriors, this is preseason. It's preseason until Christmas Day. He's experimenting with lineups. Some days he wants to play. He's moody too. It was, and I'm not talking about Moses Moody. I'm saying Steve Kerr. Some nights he wants to develop the young guys. Other nights he says, "Hey, I need some veteran play." So that's been an interesting situation there in Golden State. But I'm going to continue to fade them until they start to care. And Steph. They say strength in numbers, but really it's strength in Steph. They go as Steph goes, and when he has a big night, they can get a win. But boy, they're really asking a lot of him here at this age. So I know LeBron has us all fooled, but you're not supposed to be this good at 34 years old. In the football world, Ball State took on Toledo. What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, we cashed it. We've been on fire on Mac. Mac's always been one of my favorite conferences. I'm a ridiculous percentage on my last 3 years. It's like 87% that I've been hitting on these guys. Just a ridiculous clip. I went 6-1 this past week on the MAC between Tuesday and Wednesday. So you guys make sure you tune in on Monday because I give out the MAC plays for Tuesday on Monday, and then I sometimes the plays for the Wednesday night games. Went just as we expected. Ball State making the game very close. Ball State is a really good defensive team. They have a heck of a running back. I mean, this kid still is a real baller. He kept them in the game. I actually went up to plus 14 before the game, and it was an easy cover because Toledo got back its starting quarterback. Their quarterback, he was a little rusty. He's a good player, really good player. DeJuan Finn. It's a lot of talking about. It's crazy how college works now because like all these boards and stuff around college, I always go to them to get information on players and injuries and things like that. It's a lot of people that think the quarterback for Toledo, Finn, will be Ohio's quarterback next year. I'm hearing this a lot. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but almost like free agency now with these transfers, people are saying that DeJuan Finn will be the quarterback State next year after C.J. Stroud leaves. So we'll see. But he's a really good player, but he was rusty. With this back, he's coming off a vicious hit that he took in the game a couple weeks prior to that he gave him a concussion. And he also just didn't look like his normally electric self with his legs. Ball State just did a really good job of keeping that game close. And they're just a tough team that I really like to bet in the MAC. And they were able to cover it fairly easily.
All right. We had some more football action, too, with Ohio taking on Miami of Ohio. Another one I missed. Tuesday, I'll take a night off and actually I said I'm going to take a night off and not watch any sports. I ended up just tinkering with my models all night. But I didn't have the games on TV. What did you see there?
You didn't have it on TV, but you cashed it because you put it on in when we were on the show.
I do that a lot. I do that with baseball, too. Yeah, whenever you give me a baseball pick, I bet it. Yeah. I don't watch the game. Yeah, I might check the score or something, but that's about it. I have no problem doing that. Right? I mean, hey, right when Warren Buffett invests in a stock, he doesn't go to the company every day and watch how they work on the floor. I feel the same way.
Right. That's right. That's right, man. Ohio is a really good team. Their quarterback he's a real baller, man. I don't know if he's going to play like his brother in Canadian football, or is he going to try to go to the NFL? He's a big kid. He's 6'5", stands in the pocket. He can run just enough. He slowed down a little bit because he had a pretty bad lower leg injury earlier in his career, but he used to be a lot faster than that. But Curtis Rourke is the same. He's pretty much his brother Nathan Rourke, just reincarnated. He's the same guy, and his big brother is leading the BC Lions right now in the playoffs. They had a big win last week that I won with them. With Nathan Rourke's one of my favorite players to bet on, and they have a really good chance of winning the Grey Cup. But his brother Curtis he has to be the MAC Player of the Year. This guy can ball, man, and Ohio is really hot. And their offense looks phenomenal. This game, it was close in the first half, but at second half it was not close. And Ohio's offense was just a little too much. But as I told you, that Brett Gabbert would be back for Miami, Ohio, and he was able to put up enough points for us to catch the over, too, like we predicted. So we did really well on this game, with Ohio University winning outright, as well as hitting the over 52. Just an outstanding game. And now I look forward to seeing what Rourke does at the next level because he's that type of talent. He's from Canada, so I would not be surprised if he goes back to Canada to play football like his brother.
All right, well, let's keep the winning going. Let's move on to the present, and we have some football to talk about. Let's start with tomorrow night's game. So, right, these aren't two good teams, right? When the Atlanta Falcons are going to be in Carolina taking on the Panthers. Is it Thursday already?
Yeah.
Dude, I've been working so much. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, so this game is tonight. It's the Falcons and the Panthers. And, like I have a buddy, hey, you want to come and watch some Thursday Night Football? I saw the game. I don't know if I want to come over for that one. Okay, that's fine. But, what's funny this was one of the most exciting games of the season when these teams met 2 weeks ago. And I think the final was 37-34, right? The Panthers could have sealed it with the extra point. They get a penalty. He misses it from 48. They miss a field goal in overtime. Falcons get back down the field. They make their field goal. It was really one of the most exciting games of the season, even if it's not the highest quality of NFL football. So, hey, it's Thursday night. We're going to watch no matter what, right? I can complain about Thursday night football, right? But they already know they got me. They already know I'm tuning in no matter what. I've been just kind of defaulting because I think some of these games have been hard to handicap from a side perspective to just playing the under. That's where I'm leaning right now. But how do you see, you're an NFC South guy. How do you see it when these two teams match up?
Everything is for me to take the Panthers. Strictly because we got 80% of the public money on the Falcons. We got a funny short number, and anytime I can catch the rivalry game with points at home, I usually roll with the division home team. I know Carolina looked pretty bad at Cincinnati last week, but that's another reason why I feel like this number is a bagger. As bad as Carolina looked last week, now they're only getting 2.5 points against the Falcons, who are leading the NFC South and have a pretty good team. I was surprised that Steve Wilkes, the interim coach for Carolina, didn't name Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback. That really was surprising. He's going to go back with P.J. Walker. So we'll see how P.J. Walker performs. He played pretty well against Atlanta last time. The weather is going to be a factor. It's supposed to be a steady rain. It's raining in Charlotte right now, and it's supposed to rain all afternoon up into and throughout the game. So it's going to be conditions, and you're dealing with a home team in Atlanta. I like Carolina in this game. I don't know how they do it, but somehow I think Carolina covers this game and win right. Just strictly off the weather, for one. Two, we already know about Thursday at home and how the advantage the home team has. And thirdly, I know that Carolina is motivated knowing that they should have won the first game. So even though it's going to be wet, if the ball's throwable and it's not too bad of conditions, I think that we see a huge game from DJ Moore in redemption for the mistake he made in Atlanta with taking his helmet out there. Let's stop blaming him. He got happy. He was all excited. That doesn't stop the kicker still supposed to make a 40-yard kick. He did his job by getting in the end zone. So let's stop being so hard on that kid for being excited. He's in a moment, adrenaline's pumping. He just made.
I don't even know if it should have been a penalty. He was on the sideline. He was on the sideline. I don't even think it should have been a penalty.
And I've seen a lot of guys do it on the field and they don't even call it.
Calm down. Let's have fun. It's called the No Fun. This has been going on for 30 years, right? The No Fun League.
Was this one of the games, man? We had one side, and I don't know if you've been paying attention. All of the cornerbacks in the NFL and in college football had this new thing they're putting on their side after they make a big, I guess that they, won that battle and they're putting this sort of, and everywhere they do it around the world. This guy chooses to change the whole tempo of this game by calling this mess against the DB. It was in one of the MAC games. I can't remember which one, but it ends up where it cost us the cover. The Eastern Michigan game. They called this 4th down. They've gotten these guys off the field. Now Akron has the punt. It's a good chance they're going to score. And this guy calls, unsportsmanlike conduct because this kid does what everyone in the league from high school through college to the NFL does as defensive backs. And it's just, I don't like when these refs make it about them. Man, you should have the ability to think about common sense. Like, hey, if I make this call right now, this is going to affect the game. It's 4th down. They're off the field. They're playing. They go talk to this kid and tell him, hey, calm down. If you do that again, I'm going to throw your flag. What happened to those days? It's like all these refs now want to be on TV and stuff. But anyway, that was a bad call. But I definitely will be on Carolina tonight at home, plus 2.5. It just doesn't make sense. That's why it makes sense.
All right, let's talk about some college football. Georgia Southern's going to take on Louisiana Lafayette. But you know what? We add that to the ball and parlay, right? So we'll skip that one for now. We'll talk about ball and parlay. Next up on the sheet, at first I see Memphis, and I go, the Grizzlies aren't playing tonight. You're talking about Tulsa. And they're going to be taking on Memphis tonight. Two teams that I'm not really familiar with. Go ahead and give us a breakdown there.
Both of these teams have been struggling. They're both on losing streaks. Memphis now lost 4 games in a row. Tulsa has lost its last 5 of 6 games. Tulsa is also dealing with quarterback issues. Their starter, Bryn, hurt his shoulder a couple weeks ago, and he's questionable to play tonight. That's what determines for me what's going to happen. It's a lot of money rolling in on Memphis, but Memphis is horrible against the pass, man. They're 119th ranked against the pass, whereas Tulsa can really throw the ball around, especially if Bryn gets in the game. One thing about Tulsa, they're usually a good defensive team, but this year they've been giving up a lot of points. They're giving up 33 points per game. The Memphis offense is scoring 33 a game. It's just that 7 points is too much for me to give up. I don't think Memphis can blow out anyone. If Bryn plays, and that's the main key. If Bryn plays, I think Tulsa can win straight up, but they'll for sure cover. But if he doesn't play, then it's a no play for me.
All right. And we'll talk about one NBA game I like in the ball and parlay, which means it's time for the future. And you have another good one for us to bet. And I was saying before the show, hey, a long time ago, people around, the nation wouldn't be able to make solid wagers here in conferences like the Mountain West, but how things have changed, and we can zoom in on any conference. So you want to talk about Fresno State and the Mountain West. What do you got for us?
Now's the time to jump on Fresno State. They're already in first place in Mountain West, even though they just got back their star quarterback, Jake Hayner, last week. They were able to hold down the ship. They have a really defensive team, and they have a really good tradition in Fresno. They play tough football. They play smart football. And they'll be probably facing Boise State. Boise State has played really well since they allowed Taylor Green to become the quarterback. He's an athletic guy. He does ball too well. They're leading the Mountain Division, so it's probably going to end up at this point, unless either one of them slips, which I don't see with the remaining schedules that they have, where Boise State and Fresno State meet each other for the Mountain West title. I expect Fresno State to win that game. So plus 140 would be a great for you right now, because most likely the game's going to be a pick 'em when they play each other. I just like everything Fresno State brings to the table, but with Jake Hayner, it puts them literally since he's been back. The offense is awake, and they've scored 41 points, 32 points, and 55 points. Been at the helm. Boise State struggles to score, and their defense is not the normal Boise State defense we've seen in the past. So I like Fresno State plus 140 to win the Mountain West at a really good price.
All right, and I'll be joining you on that one. Let's see how the Bulldogs can do. Traditionally good program here. These smaller programs in California are getting better and better, right? I know some of our big recruits end up in the SEC, and I think now we're getting a lot of the 4-star guys at places like San Jose State, Fresno State, San Diego State, schools that you wouldn't consider to be, traditional powerhouses, but now they're producing NFL level players, right? Devontae Adams of Fresno State Bulldog, Derek Carr, right? I mean, they're producing guys at the top level here. So I'll be excited to join you on that. Now it's time for one of the favorite segments of the program, and this one's going to be all you. You foreshadowed it earlier, but let's go back to Dennis Allen. He's not a little rascal, but he's entering twerp territory. What did you see?
Dennis Allen is just not a leader of men. That's the problem. I thought that it would be an easy transition from Sean Payton to Dennis. Dennis Allen has been there so long and carried the title as assistant head coach, but it was just a title. He obviously is just that DC that the players played with, had fun and joked with, and listened to his calls. Didn't ever look at him as the guy or somebody that they truly respect, because the Saints have looked lackadaisical this whole season. They had any fire in their rear. Sean Payton always did a great job of keeping his team motivated. they don't look like they could care less. Like they're just out there going through it. When things go wrong, they show no resolve. They just down. And it all goes back to Dennis Allen. And it all starts with, first of all, if Jameis Winston is healthy, why isn't he the quarterback? Jameis Winston is the quarterback one. And the old rules of football have always been you can't lose your position if you're hurt. When he was able to play and he was back healthy, he should have been back in the game. No one can believe that Andy Dalton is actually the quarterback of the Saints. It doesn't even feel right, sound right, or look right. But it's what he's doing. At least if you don't play Jameson, you feel like he's still too hurt to play the back injury, because backs are very difficult for a quarterback to deal with. Why aren't you starting Taysom Hill? Just do like Sean Payton did a couple years back and say, okay, all our quarterbacks are hurt. We can't really throw the ball. We're just going to line and play old school football with you. You know, stop us. And the fact that Dennis Allen doesn't have the wherewithal to do these things and make these moves is just mind-boggling to me. You face a Ravens team with that type of crowd, that type of team, everybody rocking. The Ravens didn't have their top receiver. They didn't have their top playmaker on offense, Mark Andrews. They didn't have their top running back, Gus Edwards. And you guys still allowed 27 points, and you're supposed to be a defensive guru. Dennis Allen, get your stuff together, man, before you get shipped out of New Orleans before the season is over with. I'm really hoping that you're one and done like a college basketball player. Kick the damn head.
All right, let's go to everybody's favorite segment, Ball and Parlay. You talked about it earlier, or, we skipped over it a little bit earlier. So why don't we talk about it now? You like Georgia Southern tonight. Let everyone know why.
Georgia Southern is just a really good team, man. Their record doesn't show up with them being 5-4, but they play some really good competition. The main thing that I like about Georgia Southern quarterback that transferred to Buffalo, Kyle Van Treese, he's really made their offense explosive. They have a lot of receivers and weapons on the outside. The former USC head coach does a really good job of putting those guys in great positions to win. UL Lafayette is a really good team. They're solid, but now they're coming a little bit back down to earth. They've lost the last 2 games, and it's all because they were getting better quarterback play at first from Ben Woolridge, but now starting to see the reason why he never was a starter at the beginning of the season. He played a little bit over his head for 2 games when he became a starter, but now he's back struggling, man. And offense is back struggling. And if they can't throw the ball, that means the only thing they can do is run it. And teams like Georgia Southern are not going to allow you to beat them just by lining the box and handing the ball off. You got to get some plays off down the field. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Louisiana Lafayette toughs this game out and wins it, but I just trust the fight in Kyle Van Treese and the fight in the Georgia Southern program to keep this game close enough, even if they have to backdoor cover. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they could pull out the outright victory. They've been just a really good offensive team this year, and Louisiana Lafayette is struggling currently on offense. I'm going to have to roll with Georgia Southern and the better quarterback and the better coach at +3.5.
All right, I'll be joining you there. And only 4 NBA games tonight, so I will probably have that one on my television tonight. Hey, it might be like the other nights and be better than the NFL's offering. So I'm going to bet an NBA game, though. This was my biggest edge when I ran my numbers. Only had 4 games to choose from, but I like this one a lot. And everybody loves the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. They're hosting the Portland Trailblazers, but I think this is too many points for this 8-3 Portland Trailblazers team. The Portland Trailblazers have always been a great offensive team, but they have 2 key additions that I think that have really helped this team. And that's Josh Hart, who came in the C.J. McCollum trade. McCollum will be going against his old teammates tonight, and Jeremy Grant. And both of those guys bring defensive intensity and just veteran acumen, right? They're not out of position. Even if you can beat Josh Hart off the dribble, which a lot of these really quick players can, he still does his best and is not going to be caught out of position, which something that younger, more athletic players might struggle with. Then you have the continued emergence of Anthony Simons, which is why the Blazers felt C.J. McCollum was expendable, because they said, hey, we got this young kid and he can do the same thing, and it's not the huge contract. We can get guys like Josh Hart back, to shore up the defense and make our team more versatile. and then the emergence of this kid, Shaden Sharp. So we knew nothing about him when we were talking. I know that you do follow some prospects, and you said, hey, he's a good prospect, but we didn't see him at Kentucky at all. If we would have seen him at Kentucky, he might have been in the top 3, but he didn't play any college basketball. So there were concerns, right? We saw James Wiseman not playing college basketball, struggling to adapt. But Shaden Sharp hasn't been that at all. He's come in. He's not asked to do a lot. He's not starting, right? He's not like Paulo, where he's getting 30 minutes a game on a lottery team. He's coming into a winning team, so he's coming off the bench, and all he's asked to do is score. And he can do that. He's smooth, too. So it's one of those things, right? Some guys put up numbers, but it looks good while he's doing it, too. So now you have that bench scorer, right? That the role that Simons had before he was gone. So you replace that perfectly. You're better on defense. And I wasn't sure what to think of Chauncey Billups so far. And, of course, you point to any mistakes that coaches have made, because some of his lineups, we all disagree with certain things, right? But overall, he's done a great job with the squad. And this could have been rough, right? And if they had a rough start, Damian Lillard, the rumors would have started again. And, I personally think they're obnoxious. How many times does this guy have to say, I'm going to be in Portland, right? I know that you guys all want to do fake trades and fantasy trades, but he's built a life there and a family there. And he wants to continue it in a community. He doesn't want to jet set around. I know that, some of you guys think that NBA players want to live in different cities all the time. That's not Dame. And he's very happy that the Portland franchise committed to him, and he's going to go ahead and turn around that loyalty regardless of what NBA Twitter thinks he should do. So I'm high on the Blazers tonight. I'm still high on this Pelicans team. I just think this number's too much. I had this game at 3, and I'm getting 6.5 here. One of my biggest edges on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Portland Trailblazers plus 6.5.
Yeah, I like that Portland team a lot. I think Phillips has really stepped up, as you said. He had to win over Dame Lillard. Something happened last year where that's why all that stuff was spilling out. There was a lot of trade talk. Grant was huge for him. So Grant is a great glue guy. He's one of the better glue guys in the whole NBA. I told you before the season, I like Shaden Sharp. I thought you guys were going to take him to the Kings, but you didn't do bad with Murray. Murray's a baller as well, but Shaden Sharp has got a chance of being special in the league, and I knew that just from his high school tape. Just a good job by Chauncey Billups overall. I'm glad that him and Damian Lillard are working good together. Like you say, after Simons is a real deal. He's going to be an elite scorer in the NBA. Playing tonight?
That's a good question. Let me check. But I'll tell you what, I'm not even necessarily as worried about that. They've been doing okay with some of these smaller lineups. They can run Jeremy Grant at the 5, and I know that Jonas Valanciunas might have some problems with that. But it's one of those things where when you go smaller, if you have Jeremy Grant out there, you're going to be able to attack Valanciunas in every single one. So when I'm looking now, Nurk is questionable, Grant's questionable, but I expect both of them to play. If Grant's out, that'll be tough for this wager. But I expect both these guys to play. The only one officially rolled out is GP2, who is yet to play for the Blazers, but he's going to add another defensive piece if he comes back, and he's the player he was last season. Also, the injury that Peyton has isn't going to be debilitating. So you have to be pretty happy if you're a Blazers fan tonight. And we're waiting for the news there, but I expect both those men to play.
Okay, great. Their spread's going to go with the Blazers plus 6.5, and I'm going with Georgia Southern plus 3.5, and also I told y'all Carolina Panthers plus 2.5. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow to set you guys up for the weekend with all our weekend plays. Best of luck to you all tonight, and we'll talk to you guys soon.